Sup guys, welcome back to a channel about watches. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 watches that I don't own yet. So these are watches on my wish list, but I haven't purchased them yet. Now for some of these watches, I was this close to buying it this year, but I ended up holding it off. And some of these watches are so expensive that I probably won't get it until 10, 20, or even 30 years later. So in today's video, I'm going to show you my thoughts about the watches that I've chosen, the reasons why I really like this watch and I've considered buying it, but also why I've decided to hold off, and the reasons kind of differ depending on the watch. One thing I do want to mention though is that I'll be mentioning the prices for all these watches just in case you're interested in buying it, but switching between Japanese yen to Canadian dollars to US dollars, the conversion rates constantly change, so I try to estimate the cost as best as I could, but they aren't entirely accurate, so do keep that in mind. But the approximate range of the prices should be correct. So first up on my list is the Seiko Dolce SACM 171. Now this is a high accuracy quartz dress watch, which is accurate to plus or minus 10 seconds per year. And overall, I say the design is pretty clean. It's got long Dauphine hands and just a slightly textured white dial. And in terms of the dimensions, we have 33.5 millimeters diameter, 39 millimeters lug to lug, and a 5.3 millimeters in height. So this is definitely a good watch for your small wrists such as mine. Other features include, again, the 8J41 movement allows plus or minus 10 seconds per year, but otherwise it has pretty simple features. There is no date wheel or other complications, but I really feel like that does play into the whole simplicity and really clean aspect of this watch. Now my overall verdict is that this is a great value for money. I think this actually is really comparable to other quartz watches in the Grand Seiko lineup, such as the SPGX 263 or the 261. I think this is a really affordable alternative to those watches. Now, if you are interested in purchasing this online, it is pretty easy to find online, and it goes for around 400 to 500 Canadian dollars or 300 to 400 US dollars. So next up on our list is the Casio Oceanus OCW S100 1AJF. Probably not the best naming scheme. So this is a JDM solar quartz watch, and you can see that the appearance has a lot of blue accents to the dial and also has lume hands and markers. And in terms of the dimensions, we have 41.5 millimeters in diameter, 46 millimeters lug to lug, and 10.5 millimeters of height. And other features include radio controls, perpetual calendar, and all titanium build, and there's also Zaratsu polishing. So it's not just Grand Seiko and Citizen that are in on the whole Zaratsu polishing game. Casio also delves into it a little bit as well. Now I can't help but compare this to my Citizen Chronomaster here, because this is also a JDM solar quartz watch, but I feel like the Casio is more rugged and less dressy than the Chronomaster, but it does have a lot of functionality and it is a fraction of the price. Now the reason why I haven't bought this watch yet is because I already have my solar quartz watch right here, so I feel like getting another one might just be too redundant. And also I already have a Casio watch. Now it's an A158W, so it's a lot cheaper, but I feel like, I already have my Casio watch in my collection. And also finally, the dial diameter is 41.5 millimeters. And even though the lug to lug is pretty short at 46 millimeters, I think large dials don't look the best on small hands. Now, if you're interested in buying this watch, you can find it easily online on Amazon or Saya Japan for around 600 to 700 Canadian dollars or 475 to 550 US dollars. All right, so at number 3, we go back to Seiko with the Seiko SPB 197J1. Now this watch is one of many Alpinists that have been released recently, but this is a European only exclusive. So you have the classic Alpinist design, but this time you have it in a gray sunburst effect. So the features are just like any other Alpinist. You're going to get a compass bezel, a cyclops, but this one also comes with an extra strap, which is nice. And that 6R35 movement is going to give you 70 hours of power reserve. So for me, I really like the Alpinist design and I really like gray watches. So if you put 2 and 2 together, I really like this watch. My main issue right now is accessibility. Because this is a European exclusive watch, it's a little bit difficult to get my hands on. So if I do find one at the right price, I'll probably grab this one. Now the last time I saw the SPB 197J1 on sale, I think it was around 1,200 Canadian dollars or 950 US dollars. And also keep in mind that this is a limited edition watch of 20 pieces. But there's also the SPB199J1, which is essentially the exact same watch, but it's on a stainless steel bracelet. But me personally, I would rather have the 2 extra straps as opposed to a metal bracelet. Now moving on to number 4 on my list, we move into the Grand Seiko territory with the SBGV 245. So this is a sporty, high accuracy quartz watch, and I think this is my favorite Grand Seiko quartz. Here we have another gray dial that has a slight texture to it, a gray strap included, and thin hands that have lume. The size is 40 millimeters diameter, 46.6 millimeters lug to lug, and 11.8 millimeters thick. Now honestly, I can't explain why I like this watch so much. I think maybe it's just a gray dial, but everything just seems to come together for this watch, so I really like it, and I would have gotten it, but it's actually discontinued right now, so it's a little bit hard to get on your hands at a good price. So I'll probably just remain patient and hopefully one will pop up at a good price. Now if you're looking to buy this watch, like I said, it's discontinued, so it's a little bit hard to get, but you can find it for around 3,000 to 3,500 Canadian dollars or 2,400 to 2,800 US dollars. And most of the stock is now used because again, most people have bought it by now. So at number 5, we have the Orient Star Skeleton RKAZ0002S. Now this is a skeleton watch that celebrates Orient's 70th anniversary. So the design is very see-through. We have blued hands here and a 70-hour power reserve meter. And this is a mechanical hand-winding watch. Now the size is 38.8 millimeters in diameter, 46 millimeters lug to lug, and 10.6 millimeters in thickness. Now I've always wanted to own an Orient watch, and normally I don't like skeleton watches, but I feel like this is just an exception. Plus, I really like power reserves on my dials. Now the reason why I haven't bought this watch yet is that it was actually recently released back in March 2021, and it was only released in Japan, so it's a little bit difficult to acquire, and I think right now the price is just a little bit too high. Now if you are interested in purchasing this watch, you can usually find it on Japanese shopping websites, and you can find it for around 3,700 Canadian dollars or 2,950 US dollars. Alright, so now at number 6, things are going to start getting pretty expensive, and we're going to start with the Grand Seiko SBGA 427. So this is part of the Spring Drive Seasons collection, and this watch represents fall. More specifically, the light dial represents light as opposed to the SBGA 429, which represents shadow. In terms of the design, we have a vertical brushed silver dial with green accents that represent a bamboo grove. And in terms of size, we have 39 millimeters diameter, 46.5 millimeters lug to lug, and 12.9 millimeters of thickness. Some other features include the 9R65 movement, which has a 72-hour power reserve, and it does come with an extra crocodile leather strap. So overall, this is a spring drive at a reasonable size and also a reasonable price. And also, just looking at the watch, I really like the green accents. Green is actually my favorite color, and again, I really like gray dials. I also like how this comes with a leather strap. Leather straps usually cost around $200 or $300, so I feel like it's really nice that they included it in the box. Now the reason why I haven't bought this watch yet is this is a US only watch, so getting it to Canada, I really just don't want to pay the shipping, the insurance, and just the import and duty fees. So if I can find this watch in Canada, maybe I'll consider buying it then. Now if you are interested in buying this watch, you can find them in Grand Seiko boutiques in the US for 5,000 US dollars or around 6,250 Canadian dollars. So at number 7 on my list, this is a really unique watch, and it was released pretty recently, and it's the Frederique Constant Monolithic. Now this might be one of the most innovative watches in the past decade. In terms of design, we get these skeleton-like watch hands, Roman numerals, and a 2-textured blue dial. But the real show here is the open heart that shows the oscillator, which helps the watch run at a 40 Hz frequency. And what that means is that the watch is going to tick 80 times per second, and that's so quick that it's going to create a smooth sweeping hand effect. And to top it all off, we have 80 hours of power reserve. This watch is 40 millimeters in diameter, 11.3 millimeters thick, but the lug to lug is unknown, and it's probably because this got released and I actually don't know if anyone even owns it yet. I think this watch is worth considering just based on the technology, because there's really nothing else like it in the watch market. Now the reason why I haven't bought this yet is because I'm not really familiar with Frederique Constant in general, and this is a new technology, so I don't know if I want to commit to it yet. This is the first generation, so there might be some problems, and maybe I'll wait until the second or the third generation of these monolithic watches. If you are interested in purchasing it, I can't really find any places you can buy it online other than Chrono24, but you can find it for 6,295 Canadian dollars or 4,795 US dollars. Now at number 8, we have the Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36mm silver dial. So I don't think this watch really needs an introduction because it's a Rolex, and this one was released back in 2020, and I think compared to the other Rolex models, it's quite subtle. You don't get a date function, no fancy complications, it's just the time on a nicely colored dial and a nice watch overall. So this is the 36mm version, so that's 36mm in diameter, 43mm lug to lug, 12mm in height, and I think this is great for small wrists such as mine. It's also offered in 28, 31, 34, 36, and 41mm variants, and I can't think of any other company that offers so many of the same watch in different sizes. Now this is my ideal Rolex watch, and I do hope to own it someday, but what's holding me back right now is the price and also the availability. So I did go to an authorized dealer a few weeks ago, but all the Rolex watches were sold out, so I feel like I'd probably be put on like a 1 to 2 year waiting list for this watch. Now if you're able to find this watch at an authorized dealer, it'll be 6,550 Canadian dollars or around 5,600 US dollars. But again, the demand is really high, so you might have to buy it secondhand at another dealer, and they usually increase the price by 20 to 30%. Alright, now at number 9, we have the Citizen AQ6020 53X. Outside of radio controlled or Bluetooth paired watches, this is the most accurate watch in the world with an accuracy rating of plus or minus 1 second per year. Now the overall design is quite minimalist with this mother of pearl dial and baton watch hands and hour markers. It's quite simple and elegant, and if you can't tell, that's something that I really appreciate in a watch, is very simplistic designs. And it also has an open caseback, which is quite rare for quartz watches. And the size is 37.5mm diameter, lug to lug is unknown, I couldn't find any data for it, and 9.1mm in height. Now in my opinion, this is the quartz watch to end all other quartz watches. I think this is really the pinnacle of quartz technology, and I'm really happy that Citizen was able to release this watch. Now that being said, this watch is pretty difficult to find online, and I think it is a little bit too expensive. Even though it is very revolutionary, I think, again, it's still a quartz watch, so I wouldn't spend too much on it. Now this watch is listed at 10,000 Canadian dollars or 7,400 US dollars. And to be honest, I don't think I'd buy this watch unless it was around the 4,000 Canadian dollar mark. Alright, so we finally reached number 10. Now this watch is more expensive than all the other watches that we talked about combined, and that watch is the Credor Eichi II. So the way I like to describe it is that this is the watch you buy when you have so much money, you just don't know what to do with it. The design is quite simplistic. We have a white porcelain dial with blued hands and indices, so it has a very minimalist style, and of course, it's also made of platinum. In terms of dimensions, we have 39mm in diameter, 45mm lug to lug, and 10.3mm in height. And this watch is powered by the 7R14 manual spring drive movement with a power reserve of 60 hours. So my verdict is that this is the endgame watch. You know you've made it in life if you're even considering buying this watch. So it's probably pretty clear why I haven't bought this watch yet. I haven't made it in life yet. But if you are one of those people who have made it in life, you can buy this for 67,000 Canadian dollars or 54,000 US dollars. Alright, so that's it for my top 10 list, but I do want to have some honorable mentions at the end, and these will be some watches that I would recommend to other people, but I wouldn't recommend it to people like myself who have smaller wrists. So first honorable mention is the Orient Star Moonphase. Now I really like Moonphase watches, but this one is just a little bit too big at 41mm diameter, 49mm lug to lug, and 13.8mm thick. You can find this watch for around 2,300 Canadian dollars or 1,800 US dollars. Next up is the Timex Marlin Snoopy. Now I really like when Snoopy is involved in a dial, and I also like the simplicity of this watch. Now the diameter is 40mm and the lug to lug is 48mm, but it should be noted the lugs are flat and not curved. For example, here's a photo of me wearing the Timex Marlin automatic with the brown dial, which has the exact same dimensions as the Snoopy dial, and you can see that the lugs are definitely hanging off my wrists. Another Snoopy watch is the Omega Speedmaster Snoopy Edition, which was just released last year. Again, the diameter and the lug to lug are just a bit too big for 6-inch wrists. And you can find the Snoopy Speedmaster for 13,100 Canadian dollars or 9,600 US dollars. Now, if you're looking for a budget watch with the Panda dial, the Citizen Chandler costs around 300 Canadian dollars or 240 US dollars. It is pretty large though, at 43 millimeters in diameter and 55 millimeters lug to lug. Now, a watch that I've been looking into recently was the Seiko 1963. Now, this has Chinese origins and actually has a lot of history behind it. The watch is 38 millimeters in diameter, however, it has long lugs, so the lug to lug length is 47 millimeters. And finally, the Bulova Lunar Pilot looks a lot like the Omega Speedmaster, but it's at the fraction of the price. You can find it usually around 460 Canadian dollars or 370 US dollars. I like the design, but it's 45 millimeters in diameter and 52 millimeters lug to lug, so it's just too large for my wrist. Alright, so those are my top watch recommendations. And you can probably tell by now that I like watches that can fit my wrist, so usually watches that have below 40 millimeters in diameter, less than 47 millimeters lug to lug, and I usually choose watches that are more slim and more sleek. So my list didn't really have any diver watches or any large watches, and again, it's just because even though some of them look nice, I just can't wear it on my wrist. So hopefully this video will help inspire your next watch purchase, and leave a comment down below and let me know which watch from this list you might be interested in getting. So anyways guys, hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.